Shadow Black in the chat early, trying to hold us accountable on time. I was doing some research and just watching a video. I look older now. Cool. Giovanni, what's up, man? Of course I remember you. You want me to put in the I see you commented on a couple videos. What's up? Okay. Hey, Carolyn. Hey, Daywalk. What's up? Daywalk, one of my kids asked, it was like, is Daywalk still around? Alright, let me get this out my ear. I was listening to watched two live streams today. They were pretty much in the same vein. Tonight's stream is called Wanting Out of the Matrix. Ruben, what's up? It's all good, Giovanni. No worries, man. My job is to show up. H2O lean, same thing. Yeah, man. Thanks, man. It's happy birthday. Thanks, Don. Yeah, last night. I feel like last night was the birthday stream. I tell you what, I just to answer Ruben, I had an eventful day. I think the coolest part about today was Shadow Black gave me a call. That's not the coolest part. The coolest part is what I was telling Shadow Black. I just felt like I was able to do what I wanted to do, and if I chose to work and get further on some projects without having any thought about anything else, that's what I decided to do, and I did it. I did it, and it was worth. It was worth it for me. I can't say that, you get like a. You don't really get a whole day of like quality, right? Like I have a lot of ups and downs and ebbs and flows. Sorry, I see the bit rate dropping a little bit. Let me just make sure I'm on the right internet. Of course, I'm not. 1 second, guys. I'm just going to switch the internet real quick. Okay, I should be back. So, yeah, I don't feel like you get a whole day. I don't know about you guys, but I'm always trying to make improvements. I do a lot of work, and whether that's in my work life, my personal life, my life of skills, my jack of all trades obsession. I was just trying to find something, and these things were on the top of my fridge. So I got like some hard cider. This one says mimosa, but yeah, it was just something. I'm actually just trying to get rid of the bottles. Let's see. Do they have a bottle return in New York? No, they don't. Do you guys recycle? Like, do you actually recycle your cans and bottles? There's this like loophole that I've been trying to track down. A lot of companies are selling you stuff from a warehouse. Like they're selling stuff. They're putting stuff on the shelves that aren't a part of your state's recycling program. Carolyn says she does recycle. So like, Carolyn, I have this one bottle here, and this is like my go-to energy drink here. It's a V8 green tea energy. Oh, I did see that. I did see the snow. I got worried over here, man. Sorry about that. In neither one of these cans, this wasn't the case years ago. I don't remember this ever being this big of a problem, but most of the cans and bottles that we buy, and that's like Sam's Club, Walmart. We have a store called Acme. That's a supermarket. A lot of the cans that we buy are not a part of my state's recycling program. So the problem for me, and this is not the topic, this is just me going off. The problem for me is I would love to recycle. I would like to recycle your cans. You know, get that money back. The recycling programs are actually very good as far as how much. I think when I looked it up the last time, it's like something in the high 70%. 70% of the cans are actually returned. And they're not really returned by people, right? It's easy when something is metal to be able to kind of extract it from waste. You know, that just takes high powered magnets. Um, but it was like a high percentage. You save them for 6 months and then take them. I can't take these anymore. There's nowhere to technically take these. So what's happening is the divide and conquer of the big, what we call big box stores, right? So let's say all they need to do is have a warehouse. I don't even see Connecticut on here. All they need to do is have a warehouse in a state, and they say, well, in the Northeast of America, we're going to distribute all of our cans to all of these stores, and we're going to sell the stuff in the stores. Yeah, I'm not going to styrofoam. But we're not going to be a part of the program. So we're going to put stuff on the shelves that you're not going to be charged a deposit, which probably feels good for you. But then there's no value to it. So maybe a person who's down on their luck, who, you know, digs in the garbage, they're not going to be able to get money from this. Low key, I do believe that there are a lot of laws and things that are supported in the recycling ecosystem to support not having homeless people around. Omega Rich. Yeah. Well, the thing is, these are metal, right? So these would go, you put these in a trash can, they can put a magnet to this and extract a good part of this. So, you know, they can get these and turn it back. So I'm not so concerned from an environmental perspective. I'm concerned about, I'm in New York, and this shouldn't be how this program functions. So they're actually not following the state's guidelines as far as the recycling program. And it's cutting out people who want to involve themselves in the recycling process. So I just discovered this a couple months ago. I've been storing, sort of like Ruben, I've been storing cans. I have like a big, what is that, a 50-gallon bag of cans. And I'm pretty sure only like 10% I could take back. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a loophole. I've been doing research on it, and I don't know why a store would want this other than not dealing with the hassle of having to charge for deposit and then having, because, you know, I know at least in this state, if you sell those things, you're part of the chain. I have to be able to return those things to that store. You are owing me a refund, right? So if they never put a deposit on this and they didn't charge you, they can take it as a recycled material, but they actually don't owe you a refund. You know? So it's weird. Now, there are other states on here. I see Maine, Hawaii, California. I just couldn't imagine that this was manufactured in one of those three places, and this can itself was distributed all the way to New York. But it's a trend. No one's talking about it. This one is the same. This is a whole different product. And Maine, Hawaii, Iowa, and California. So, yeah. Good evening. So, if I have anyone who wants to call in or tap in somehow, I think I could try to drop a Discord link in the chat if you want. My only requirement on a night that is my birthday is that my goal for my actual birthday is to be roasted. I don't like to, the praise was last night. Thank you. I just want roasting. If you have a funny story, even some feedback from here that you find funny, I want I want to be put back into a good mood. I don't think I was in a good mood leading up to the stream, and that's why Shadow Black docked me 8 minutes, because I've been sitting here for the last hour. Last night I earned a bunch of copyright issues. Let me see if I could show you guys that. That was my biggest one, and it was it's gonna take a little while to clear that out. I've already cleared out 2, but it is what it is. See, that's what I want. I want you. You're gonna call in and you're gonna roast me, or you just chat roasting. That's your choice. Low key, for the longest of times, when I'm asked, what do you want to do for your birthday, I've always wanted a roast. That's my top tier number one birthday present. Montel Jordan in the face. This is how we do it. Throw your hands in the air. Wave them like I just don't care. Yeah, Montel was cool though. It was cool. Okay, so wanting out of the Matrix. Nothing too deep. I personally just have these feelings based on, I said I was watching some content today, and let me just show you all these strikes before we get started. Okay, so just read down the list, and I already cleared 2 of them. I cleared Party All the Time, but I cleared the audio. They do it separate for the audio and the video sometimes. You Trey song slow motion looking like somebody's daddy. There you go. So what was weird about this is Spark Your Brain. When I played Chocolate Rain, that's what came up. I'll show you guys. When I go to take action, I could either erase the song, replace the song, or trim out the segment. If I press play, this is going to play the actual song, so I don't want to do that. But you see the Tay Sunday on the screen. I don't know why this says Royce the 5'9", so I don't know how he has copyright ownership of that. We got Michael Jackson, Black or White, well worth it. Bomb, Sister Nancy, well worth it. Pastor Dutchy, could have went past that one. Party All the Time, absolutely worth it. It's My Party, I played that right before I played Stevie Wonder. So I think that one was worth it. The Rain. Oh my God. Absolutely worth it. She's like the wind. Oh, you guys got me on. Patrick Swayze was a tearjerker. Um, and of course, Stevie Wonder, Happy Birthday. And Michael Jackson with some really vibrant words. Probably the most vibrant song of all time. Hey, Katie. Hey, Katie. Yeah, I didn't forget she she's like the wind. So underwhelmed. I gotta ask my sister if she cares for that song. Um, I don't. That was to each his own. To each his own. No shade. And look at what I got. I'm figuring out this pool, and most of these companies, they have this worksheet, and they have these amazing words. Where's the words that I saw? It was like something about it being easy. Oh, measuring your pool is easy. There are 8 steps, right? You tell me how easy this. What the heck, man? Oh, I'm gonna speak another language after this is over. This is easy. I didn't even show you guys the. Okay, we went right after this is easy. We get into. Okay, this part is probably easy, but once you start putting the letters on it, I was getting lost. I was like, man, I gotta print this out. This is a whole college course right here. How to measure your pool. And I don't know if they want me to be overwhelmed so that I could give them a call and so they could charge me more. But that's not what we call easy, guys. So once and out of the matrix, do you guys ever feel like you're in the matrix? You feel like it's a program? Some Tron. I mentioned Tron last night. You ever feel like that? I feel like that. I feel like that. And I get like when I talk to people, every time I have like this disconnect, I'm like, man, it's either them or me. Someone's on the matrix. Someone's on the grid, right? But yeah, that's just how I was feeling this evening. Like I said, I had a pretty eventful day. Um, Ruben says, "Got to get the bills paid somehow, some way. 8.5 hours of work, 2 hour drive home, 6 hours of sleep. You need to be sleeping more than that, sir." Yeah, yeah, that's it. But it's the mindset though. When you when you don't question, uh, yeah, I guess, Katie. I don't wanna Debbie down anyone's concept of a birthday. But like I said, I was serious. My birthdays are the day before, so you guys broke the birthday with me. I did take off work. I got a lot of work done early. I went to a bagel shop, went to Home Depot, ended up having to go to my son's spring concert, which was cool, but it was like a hard shift. And then he wanted to go get ice cream. That got extended. Pretty much the day just finished wrapping up. The kids kind of went upstairs right before I started streaming. Um, so yeah, back to what Ruben was saying. I think it's the mindset though. I think for me, it's more than just working. It's like, well, what are you working for? Are you getting anywhere with this thing that we call work? Are you improving? Do you really understand where this is going? If I had to redo any parts of industry, I think the whole quitting, taking a break, hiring and firing would be very different for me. I think one of the things that is really hard about um, working, oh, it says they hook you. One of the hardest things about working the way we do, many of us do, is when you go work for a company, it's like you're signing a open-ended long-term contract until someone decides to breach the contract. And it shouldn't feel like that. It should not feel like that. Unless I do something, unless I croak, unless they do something, or unless they no longer cease to exist, this contract is like it's open-ended and forever. There's no, there's it's just weird. I don't think there's anything else that exists that way, that you have to be so. I'm glad you enjoy your work. That's awesome. That's awesome. I hope you are compensated for your work. I hope that in a 5 to 10 year period, that you're satisfied with what that looks like and will lead to. I hope there's an example for what's to come. That it's hard sometimes for companies to make a unique path. A lot of us are unique. A lot of us have unique skills. And when companies, managers, directors, leadership, and executive, when they have this unicorn, they don't know what to do with it. I think they prefer to have a robot. Like, they prefer to have a robot, or they prefer to have somebody that's never going to question anything. Yeah, that's a fantastic boss or manager. That changes the game. Would you say, Ruben, since you're leading with these examples, would you say that you're in a labor-intensive profession and your it's more blue collar, and your success is based on you being able to manage and get work done? Do you have to go above that, and are you relied on to do a lot of heavy thinking? Because I feel like, in my experience, that's where there's a break. But I personally feel like it would not be hard to stay employed, until retirement for me. I don't know how, if I see value in it. I just I don't see it. And on the other side, taking a leap, which seems hard, but it's like, what else are you gonna do? For me, in the past year, I've entertained thoughts about, some sort of a food truck situation, starting my own tech firm. Oh, they shaped the position to fit the employee, not the other way around. That's nice. Still lead by example. Okay, you guys are lucky. You guys are definitely lucky. In my experience, the writing's always on the wall. I could go into a room of 15 people, and they all need me to tell them what's next, what we're doing. But I'm the one who's, kind of powerless, don't have authority, So that's interesting. That you guys look like you have it carved out. Now, what happens when, and this has happened to me, what happens when that manager is no longer there? And Katie, what happens when some executive or leadership comes in and they change that shaping of the position to fit the employee? You know, because that's possible, right? And that was in my original example. It's like when you make this open-ended contract, I could change or they can change. It's just like a relationship. That's probably the closest thing that I could compare it to, is that when you become serious with someone, you're in an open-ended contract. And until somebody decides to breach that contract, it's just there on the table. You know, you just you're holding this piece of paper. Your lawyer's on deck just in case you have to activate them, but filling this spot, that's if they let you, right? I've been a clear candidate for a lot of the spots, so to speak. Yeah. Yeah, well, look, I hope we stay together to support each other. You guys are saying some great things. Me, I don't think I think I've seen enough. I've seen enough. I don't It's hard. What makes it hard mentally, psychologically to move on. And when I say move on, I'm saying you were taught to go educate yourself based on their definition of education. You did that, and then now you go and get a job. You did that, and the market is not, whether you are frustrated with time or money. Could be both. And you push through, you fight, you fight, you fight, and it just doesn't seem like it's actually going somewhere. Like, and that's how I feel. So what I'm up against is really, it's this long-term trajectory that was not only imposed on me, but imposed on my cohorts. Using an academic word now. All of my cohort, we all got this idea placed upon us, and food truck wasn't a part of that. It was there's a lot of things that wasn't a part of that. Store clerk wasn't a part of that. And now it's like, as I decided to age another day, and that turned into a year, I'm kind of sitting here like, man, these things sound pretty good. Now, I'll give you a little bit background. Maybe, Ruben, maybe you've never heard me say this. So it's a good conversation to have. I got the privilege to not work during COVID. I don't know if it was 3.5 years or 3 years, but it was like a solid 3 years. I didn't have to answer to anyone. Some of that time I was able to freelance, do some consulting, and it wasn't bad, but I didn't have to answer to people in the same way. I mean, from a legal standpoint, as a contractor, there are things that your company the client is allowed to control, and there are things that they cannot control. So I would never consider them my supervisors, right? Even if I'm a one-man show. Legally, if I'm not filling out a W-2, I'm not your employee. And I'm free to work and get my work done If you want to pay me, and that's our agreement, I do my work on my time, how I want to do it. You can't force me to be into a certain situation. But I got that privilege, and those 3.5 years made me see everything different. I just wasn't I wasn't on the hamster wheel. The stream team make the pick. Happy birthday, Darnell. Thank you, sir. So yeah, I wasn't on the hamster wheel anymore. And I had to get back on the hamster wheel. Ooh, it was hard. But I did it. And I never really fully did it. Like, I don't know if hamsters ever resist to go on the wheel. But I don't think I ever fully got back on the wheel. And a lot of my points of views, a lot of my resistance, or it's not even resistance, a lot of what I identify, I think I could see something that somebody else may not be able to see, because we've all been on the hamster wheel for so long. Like, I got a question for you guys, because this used to come up for me a lot, because I quit a lot of jobs. And I don't consider quitting, just quitting. I think when you quit, there's this concept that I always say, quitting means that you fired the company. Like, bring the power back to your side, because the company didn't meet your standards. So you fired the company, right? So I've quit jobs like long time ago in the past. I was single. I didn't have, and not just when I was single, but I didn't have children. I didn't have a mortgage. Oh yeah, make the pick. If you want to roast me, feel free to do so in the chat, or if you want to hit me on Discord, that's your choice. Shadow Black says, new Salt and Pepper Light Skin Thunder, not really doing it well, but doing it great. In the face, can't stop, won't stop. P Diddy dancing. Okay, it's a little all over the place. You need some more commas, sir. A comma or a period would help me to help you help us. So what was I saying? I didn't work. In my perspective, hey Bubba Gumps. Do that lower lip. That's a good one. I mean, it's a little edgy, but I'm an 80s baby, so you could get away with that. It's not the first time I've been called Bubba Gump. Give my saute shrimp, coconut shrimp. That was such a great character he played too. Such a great character. He's definitely had other roles, but every time he's definitely a typecasted Bubba Gump. I think he played on a TV show as well, something in the hospital probably. But yeah, so I was able to not work. No, I was talking about quitting. What was I saying about quitting? Oh, it was a question. Would you guys ever quit a job and not have a job? Any one of you? Would you ever quit a job and not have a job lined up? I got a bunch of texts from friends today. Like, I have a weird thing going on. I mentioned it here before. I'm waiting for the answer if you guys would quit a job. Is that it? Ruben, Carolyn says no. Okay, good. He did that not long ago. Oh, that's hot. Yeah, so I was notorious for quitting a job and not having a job. And the reason why is because I lived in the moment. And in the moment, I was using, Malcolm X any place is better than here. Uh, Position drove you to the breaking point. And I feel that everybody's in a different position, which makes this all hard, right? This is hard. I think about this a lot, and I back off from talking about it because I don't. When people in the room, I don't think they grasp um, how hard this can be. So let's take two employees, right? And you stand them next to each other. Let's go happy path. So you have a woman and you have a man. And the company, for whatever reason, decides to do the right thing and they pay them the same exact amount. Now, right away, if one person has an illness or they get a lot of meds, you don't make the same because you have investments. If one person lives in a house that their family left them and they just pay taxes on it, or the taxes are coming out of a trust, you don't make the same. Get where I'm going with this? I had a coworker whose car broke down, and the next day he had a car. The car came from his stepfather's lot. Well, my car breaks down. There's a lot more broken. It's painful. I used to say this thing where this is how you know you broke, right? This is how you know. I used to say in poverty, but let's just say broke because I don't want to get too deep. You know you broke that if something happened in your house or to your car and it cost you $5,000 and it was like a life-changing moment for you. And look, I'm not saying 5,000 is I'm not representing this as a small amount of money. I'm more so saying that if you do poker math, you're only supposed to have in play a certain amount that is a percentage of the whole, right? So for me, if I get a $5,000 smack across the face tomorrow, I'm gonna be pissed off for about 5 months or at least 5 weeks. It's not gonna be 5 days. I'm gonna spend the next 5 weeks at least trying to figure out how I never get back in that situation again. And that means that I don't have it readily available. That means that I have to work to get that, to make up the distance. Right? And this is my logic. I give it to people and I allow for them to apply it to themselves. Now that I do own a home, I understand what a furnace is, hot water heater, a roof, a well, a septic tank. My neighbor told me, and this was hilarious. He said, if the septic tank goes, he goes. It was straight up. He said, if the septic tank goes, he goes. So what is that saying? That's saying that $10,000, $15,000 ain't worth it. He's gone. House on the market. Ruben says, I don't like to know other coworkers' pay. Got enough to think about. Well, you say that, right? But I like the way the government does. I like any kind of program that's based on like a tier and you're getting paid based on years, or skill set certifications. I like that because it makes sense. You're this grade, I'm grade 18, and this is how much you could make. Because here's what happens in the other world. I once had a job and I got someone else hired at the same title and they end up paying him more than me. And I didn't know it until it was all over. Like when I was leaving, he told me what he was making and I was like, How and I was ready to move on. But it's not fair. We're not, and it's not just coming from the company. It's just like we're all different. So you have to be that locked in, because the moment that you have a trust and I don't, we could never compare each other's situations. We can't, because you have stuff that's taken care of. The moment that someone in your family is paying for a lease or a car note for you, even a cell phone, we're not in the same situation, so it's really hard to compare. So going back to this, like leaving a job, I've heard in the past, I had a lot of friends that they would give me a lot of negative attention, which I did not use as bad energy, but it was definitely negative attention, because I feel like my generation was taught to, and there's actually dialogue on this. There's studies on this. I feel like my generation was taught to just accept it and keep going and stay and live for vacations. Live for a vacation that you have to ask for, you have to put in for, seek approval for, and there's a chance that they won't approve it even though you purchased them tickets. Hope it wasn't with Spirit Airline. Yeah, they settle because what is much stories I have of people not being done right, they don't just listen to their heart and their instincts and just say I'm too valuable. I believe that skilled employees hold the value because the companies don't build your skill. You have to show up. You have to build your skill. So if you're in a situation where you're not being paid what you should be, the company is not holding true to promotions or giving you fair opportunities. I've watched a lot of people, again, because it's an open contract until somebody changes it. Change is hard. I mean, there's grown men that won't break up with somebody that they know is not good for them. What's the difference? And I'm sure there's grown women as well. So that's a maturity thing to say, this doesn't work for me, right? And we're all in different parts of the country, potentially the world. So I can't say that it's easy for somebody to say quit your job, but you're also taking on the energy, like Katie was saying. I like using people's words. Position drove me to the breaking point. Right. So now we're going to have mental health issues because we're going into work and We got people that put a target on our back. Like not too long ago, I was working with the person I consider a friend now, and he got a 1 on his evaluation out of 4. I knew someone that was next to him that was put on a PIP, the performance improvement plan. It's like they play games with employees, and there's leverage. Okay, this is a question then, Ruben. Who do you think holds the most leverage? The employee or the employer? I wonder if what I'm actually trying to talk about is that one of the biggest how do you think a priest would answer the yeah, a one out of 4 make the pick. Yeah. Well, I'm talking about the employee or the employer. He says customer. we all we all don't have a customer. When you work in a world where there's no customer, like where you're not you when you don't interface with the customer, you have internal customers. They make up fake language, and you have internal customers that you provide support for, just to do what you're doing, which is to say the customer is always right. So somebody internally is always right, and you got to listen to them, and they create this trickle down, which is just not effective. You never got your calls right according to your employer and angry members. Yeah, I mean, I think it's clear as day that most people would say that this contract favors the employer because, and depending on the state you live in, they could end the relationship. They don't have to give you 2 weeks. I don't know where I'm at. They don't have to give you notice. They could end that relationship. And once they end that relationship, the company continues to go on. But because of the way we live and we decide to live, all of our decisions are binded up into this ability to continue to get that paycheck. So they have the leverage. And I wish that, well, for me personally, I missed the COVID times. For me, I miss when I fully had the leverage. You know, wasn't a ton of money coming in, but I also I didn't need a ton of money. So I'm focused on stuff like, yeah, it's his company. Yeah, yeah, it is. But that's the thing. You get like, so let's expand on that. Ruben says, with the boss I have now, he asked my thoughts, but eventually it's his company. So when you work for like for a tech company and you get in early, why is it that tech companies have structure for you to get paid in other ways except for cash on paychecks? You get shares in a company. You vest those shares. You have to be vested, meaning depending on what the vesting time frame is, maybe it's 2 years, maybe it's 4 years, and then those things turn into real assets. So once you're a shareholder, you're technically a stake owner in a company. So why do we make companies where we don't give anyone like a vested interest in this, that they can just disappear and we just replace Ruben. Like, why? Darnell's gone. Oh, replace him. I want to replace the company. You're tired of being degraded? Katie says my direct boss saw my value, fought for me. So I never got fired, but I got tired of being degraded. Yeah, I've been in many situations like that. I was I would say it wasn't super direct, where I don't think there were words that ever came into my direction. I consider degrading the fact that everyone could see what this relationship should be, and it's taken time for the company to um, move in that direction. And as far as bosses and managers fighting for me, I've heard those words before, and it's sickening. It's sickening. I give you another story. I was working at a really popular company in New York City, and the guy who hired me, who I worked under, you know the story, right? Like I was doing his work. He was above me. Um, he had more of a senior title. Yeah, but you're unique, Ruben, because you're in something that is like direct transaction, and you're kind of like the understudy to the person who's making all those decisions and built up. So you're more in the entrepreneur line than you are, just day to day getting a paycheck, which is good. You're picking up more skills than most. So I'm at this company, and I think for like a year, proved myself. Everything was working out. Um, then the guy who hired me, oh come on, make the pig. No, we gotta make it good, man. We have to make it good. It's just a mindset, bro. I'm trying to get into like COVID forced me. I mean, you know my story. I didn't When I left my job when COVID started, I didn't leave it thinking, "Oh, COVID's here." But COVID came and life got hard. I had a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 5-year-old. And I just said, I have to watch my kids. My wife she worked in the hospital, so she had to be there. And I just supported that. But in the past, even pre-COVID, I've always wanted my own thing. And it's not because of the ego, it's because the way things function are wrong. This leverage is wrong. You're not usually offering what you think. Customers aren't getting what they think. Clients are being mistreated. It's the same thing like how I approach this YouTube. You have all of these things that we could be doing here, and we could be making this, we could have more conflict. We could have more drama. I could start throwing some F-bombs, and we're going to get, something back from that. We can get some different attention back from that. But for the long haul, I'd have to keep throwing F-bombs. And I'd also, the base that I've been working with, I would be switching up on them. So what does that make me? So I was working at this company, and the guy, let's call him Chuck. It's very close to his name. Let's call him Chuck. And Chuck, how much Chuck could would Chuck would Chuck would. Chuck decided that he was going to go leave and go work back at a company that he was working with before. So the writing's on the wall. I mean, we have some very visible, uh, mission critical assets for this company. It's a big blog, it's a big publication, and then they have magazines. So, you can see the grades. They have magazines. This is a good amount of time ago. And so I'm sitting back. Once he told me he was leaving, I'm like this. Let's go. I do everything. I do all the stuff that he does. And I'm better than him at a lot of this stuff. And he comes to me. It's this relationship where he comes to me for answers and guidance and leadership. All I don't have is a title, right? So I'm thinking, I go back and tell my shadow black. I'm like, I tell my wife, like, I really did it. Like, it's probably gonna come with some money because I'm working at this pretty nice size publication. They're still around. They're still a nice size entity. They got money. They definitely have money. It was a very uppity place. We used to have wine and champagne lunches. You had to dress the part though. You had to dress the part, but we would have champagne lunches. They would have, how when you have an event and they have the nice subs, and I ate quinoa for the first time. Didn't know what it was. I remember they would be. We were in line and they start talking about was it Martha's Vineyard and going on vacation. And I remember so I go back and tell my wife, I was like, yo, I think we should go to Martha's Vineyard. She's like, what the? Why? It's like, they know what they talking about at work. I had a doorman. It was just an interesting place. So I'm like, sky's the limit. Sky's the limit, man. And of course, I'm telling you this story because that's not what happened. Without bringing me in on the plan, the process, instead of replacing Chuck, they decided, we're going to go and we're going to replace him, a position that doesn't exist, and we're going to go above Chuck. We're going to, so that now this person is going to be able to manage this side, which is where I was at. We had multiple publications, and then there was this one that was to the side. It was something to do with some sort of foreign affairs publication, and they were on a different side. So they decided to hire above Chuck's level. So I was super disappointed. The guy came in, and for what it's worth, he wasn't a bad guy. But there's this thing that I've really observed. When someone gets hired, the higher up a person gets hired when they come in, the more not time, but the more authoritative energy they're given to enact and produce their way. Right? Doesn't matter what was there. You would think that people come in and they observe the process and then they bind to it. No, I've not really seen that more in my experience. Usually it's, you guys do Python? Yeah, we probably gonna do this in Java. Probably gonna do this in Java. We're not gonna do the Python anymore. You use GitLab. Yeah, we don't like bootstrapping that way. We're probably gonna use Jenkins or Ansible. None of you do Ansible today. Oh, it's fine. It'll be easy. You can learn it. So the higher up you are that you come in, and who knows, maybe I am around to get to this level. But it just seems like when the higher up you are, you come in with a process. Yeah, wine and champagne. Well, you guys, good night, Carolyn. You guys are on this wine and shit. Yeah, I worked at a place. Breakfast, lunch, was always available. We had a gym inside we had a gym. We had ping pong tournaments. There was a whole, we had like a ping pong tournament. It was probably a couple hundred people at the company. And they had like brackets. And for the championship, like the semifinals and the championship, it was all held in front of everyone in this beautiful room. Yeah, they were super connected. I would really like to experience a coyote dream, a shroom dream. Oh yeah, you mean like DMT kind of stuff? Me too. Oh yeah, I just said DMT too. Yeah. No, I watch a lot of videos about that. Um, who is it? Terrence. See, this is and thanks guys. I absolutely am happy to be having conversations and not just saying happy birthday to myself a bunch of times. Why am I saying Terrence McKinney? That's not. Oh, it is. It's spelled differently. I think it is McKenna. I think it's McKenna. Yep. This is Yeah. So this is. I watch a lot of Terrence McKenna. Listen to. Um. Apparently, yeah, he died in 2000, but yeah, he talks a lot about the going to the other side, psychedelics. What you mean getting the big D treatment? You talking about the champagne? Bro, I paid for that, man. I paid for that. Some of these companies, I mean, they're in the city. They're like Midtown Manhattan. I've worked at a few companies down there, and it's like levels to it, man. It's levels to it. Now, look, they didn't. Let me finish the story, and you'll kind of understand how you could be pissed off. So they hired the guy, but the guy, here's the issue. The guy was a level above Chuck. Chuck wrote code. So if Chuck was supposedly the senior and I was right below Chuck and we both wrote code, we kept the door open. We kept the publication running. We did all the fixes and, worked on new features. So when Chuck wasn't there, who's supposed to do it? Because you didn't hire someone to do coding. You hired someone above Chuck. So they just did this. They just closed their eyes and said, it's going to get done. So at that moment, someone is evaluating a decision to replace Chuck. And they have to say to themselves, well, Chuck works 40 hours a week. Darnell works 40 hours a week. This is roughly how much they get done. Clients are happy, but that's based on 80 hours a week. We have a lot of moving parts. Um, Come on. No, it's not about the company being big. It's about the company. It's about the network that they're in. When you get into a certain network, Shadow Black, what'd you say? Some little round juice? Nah, we ain't never had no juice in a box. It ain't never been that. Um, yeah, it's just the network you in. Some people, what it is these companies, they have relationships, and it's nothing but the best. You want to get lunch, you're gonna go to a top deli, top bakery, and you're gonna have that relationship, and that's who's supplying you, and it's a good thing in that regard. But there's a lot of money involved. There was a lot of big money that was involved in this. It was they owned the building down in Midtown Manhattan, so clearly it was something different. So I ended up doing all of the code. Beyond the code, because Chuck was so senior, he has to interface with a lot of the stakeholders and management. And so now I'm doing that. And I realized, it probably gave it like, 5 or 6 months. I realized they don't have a plan for me. They couldn't even appease me, and I didn't give them the opportunity after a while. They couldn't even appease me and just give me Chuck's title. I'm doing Chuck and Darnell's work. Could have just gave me Chuck's title. You could have just made me feel like I'm doing something. That's not what they did. So I decided to say, deuces.
Ready or not,
I'm out of here. And the person that they hired, I remember him putting on the face like, "Oh my God, what's wrong? Is there anything we could do?" And I'm like, "No." Like, the fact that you're here, there's nothing that you can do, because you probably shouldn't even be here. They went in a different direction. And it's, I feel the same, but I would have more patience today. So I just left. Now they needed to get this work done. So here's the trap. In New York, I don't have to give you guys notice. That's a courtesy. That's me being respectful. Or if there's something contractually, and there was nothing that I'm obligated to, like if you work in a medical field, I could walk out today. So they started negotiating with me. Wow, it's interesting to get you guys the negotiation table. And I figured I was going to start taking my own relationships and, see what comes of it. And I did. And this was one of my first contracts. And they offered to pay me, listen to this, twice the hourly rate for half the hours. So they paid you the same? Uh-huh. They paid me twice the hourly rate for half the hours. So you made the same. Yeah, for the next 6 to 8 weeks, I was able to make twice the hourly rate. Twice, Mick the Pig. Twice. Oh, I remember because I went from 40 hours to 20 hours. And again, once you're a contractor, those 20 hours were not on site. Now, what was I doing with those 20 hours? Now, this is where all money is not good money. They decided to have 3 people replace my role. Three people. 3 human souls. Now, I'll mathematically explain how they were able to do that. There was a guy in the networking department who had some software skills, but he was more of a networking guy. And he was trying to move around. So they said, okay, we got one guy who could just take, he just has to be trained. And it's going to take about 8 weeks to get him up to speed. Yeah, 3 people, Ruben. And then this is what companies do. So they start looking at the numbers. So his salary and my salary, because he had more years than me, let's say we made the same amount. So they moved him over, and then they hired 2 international guys. And my job was not to do my work for 7 to 8 weeks. My job was to train 3 people. They had one efficient guy that they would not pay. And and the problem is that what I ended up learning, really listening, keeping my ear to the street, is the way these budgets work. And it's just a bad foundation, and we all get caught up in it. Yeah, wrong place. Wrong place. Yeah, no, this is in the city. We all get caught up in it. The reason why they were able to pay me so much was because the money that's allotted for contractors is different than the money that's allotted for salaries at that company. So I probably undersold. I could have probably made 2.5 my rate. I was, it was kind of my first go round with being at the negotiation table. I'm just like, and I didn't know it was going to be 8 weeks at the time. I'm just like, man, this will get me started. And I get my mental break, So it worked out. It wasn't a rough process. I never really had dealings with that company after that. Some other companies that I left and I ended up in a similar spot or having to come back to. There was one company in the city. They didn't want to pay me when the first go round, so I left. And then I ended up getting them for a really high rate to come back and to help train for application that they were trying to push out the door. They've since got acquired, and the name of the company doesn't exist anymore. But I made them pay the second go round. So I've definitely been in a situation where I've established relationships, and even though you leave, I ain't going postal. I'm handshaking and walking out the door. I fired the company. That whatever they were hanging over my head, it didn't exist at that point anymore. You just fire the company and move on. And a good friend former assistant coach of mine when I coached high school basketball. Haven't spoken to him in a while. If he ever joined this stream, it would just turn up instantly. Like Jim McCann came in last night, and Jim McCann said he was coming back tonight, so I might have to hold him to it. I have no idea what state Jim McCann is in these days. I think he moved out of New York. But yeah, I was thinking about him today. Just a good person to come in and say hi. But yeah, I've had a lot of these experiences, and I don't forget them. I see the overlap, and I start to look at just industry as somewhat of the matrix. And if anything we need to break out of, good question, Ruben. So I trained them, and Ruben says, but did that hold you back from going further? Well, it's not up to them whether I was gonna go backwards or forward, right? He did verify. That's what I was telling my wife. I was like the coolest thing. And look, I got more Jim McCann stories, but I would need him to sign something to say it's okay. But the fact that he verified that was like big time. I haven't thought about that in years. Because when you think about your teammates, we only played 1 year together. I think he ended up not playing on the team. We both didn't end up playing on the team the next year. And then I came back a couple years later. When you think of your teammates, you existed as a team. So it was just interesting, like Jim McCann. It's like, think of all the Jim McCann stuff you've done. And that was, like he said, he was an RA. Yeah, he was. So I don't know. I want to talk about it, but I didn't want to mess up where I was at. But it's a crazy story of how he became my RA. When I got recruited to go to this school, and it probably overlaps with like this whole work conversation in the matrix that we're talking about. I got recruited to go to play for this college, and I was super hyped, and everything was kind of like set up. Everything. We were gonna live off campus. The basketball team had a house. Like these were the ideas. And when it got close to school starting, I went up to the school maybe let's say 2 weeks before school started. They were doing a lot of work on campus. So a campus doesn't look as much like a campus when there aren't students on there. It's a state school, so it's a lot of work that was going on. So I pop in. Oh, and let me just add this. My school at the time is 6.5 hours away from where I live. So I pop up at the school. I'm just excited. And a friend of mine was also going to the school. So I said, let me just take the ride with her. So I took the ride, and I popped up on my coach. He was like, D? I was like, yeah, what's up, Jones? And he was so happy to see me. And it was weird because he was kind of emotional. Katie, take care. All right, see you tomorrow, Katie. We ain't gonna be on here too much longer. I did what I needed to do. Let's go into the 6th so we could not be at our birthday. So he looked a little emotional, but I didn't know him that well. He just recruited me. He was a cool guy, but I didn't know him that well yet. we were about to get to know each other. And we drove home. It was a day trip, so it easily 12 to 13 hours of driving that day. I was a scrub. I didn't even have a license. So I let this female do all the driving for 13 hours. That just sounds really bad, right? But she was very independent. She liked to drive. All right, Ruben. So he says odds are drooping. Man, imagine us in the East Coast, Ruben. I'm working on my pool right now, so I'm lifting stuff all day. So I get home. I'm going to speed it up just in case Ruben and Katie still got me on. I'm going to get this story out. So I get home and I get a call from the coach. She was a gentle lady, as Missy said. So I get a call from coach and he's like, D, what's up? I'm like, man, it was good to see you. He said, yeah, man, I just wanted to tell you that I actually just got fired. I didn't want to tell you like right there in person. I didn't, obviously didn't expect you to be there. Anything I could do for you in the future, I'm really sorry this happened. I was looking forward to the season. You were a key piece to the puzzle of what we were trying to do with this team. You coming up, because I went to that school with 3 other guys. We transferred from junior college to this 4-year school, and we were coming in with our program, and I was like the guy. Like, as much as whatever you know about me now, this is a percent. This is a fraction of the energy and stamina that I would uphold. And he gets fired. And it's like, to think they let this guy go all the way to September before they fired him. And so everything changed. All of what we had organized. And that's how I ended up in that particular dorm. I remember it like clear as day. I lived on the 8th floor, and Jim McCann was the RA. And, he was just, and I was telling my wife today, he was just trying to get a couch for the lounge. And the options back then, if you weren't trying to pay a lot, you just go on Craigslist. That was probably the only option. You go on Craigslist, or you see a yard sale, and the couch was, I ain't gonna say it was dirty, but it was old. It had a 70s look to it, and I was telling my wife, I'm pretty sure that couch birthed multiple babies. She was like, you mean conceived? I said, no, I think that couch birthed babies. So we did get it back. Like I said, he was holding the left hand, I was holding the right out the window, and we did get it back to campus. But that was a blast. So yeah, I think wanting out of the matrix for me is maybe sometimes when we say the matrix, we're trying to loop in a lot of overlapping ideals. But what would your life look like if work is not good for you, or you feel like it's not what was promised to you, right? Of why you put in all these years. We don't have the little the youngins that come in anymore, which is good and bad. I haven't seen CJ in a bit. I'll have to check on him. But it's good and bad. Work. If you're not, like, what is your trajectory? I'm obviously early 40s. I'm at the age where people start making decisions that you're going down a rabbit hole of retirement. I'm gonna go work at this job so I could put in my 20, 25 years and then I'll be at retirement age. It's like you might as well just go purchase your headstone. And I don't feel that way. I feel refreshed. I feel more risky than I have in a long time. But I feel like the only solution for me is to, even if you stay at wherever you are, your mindset has to change. Like I don't think it's safe to rely on your employer. I think that they have too much leverage in that contract. And we need to start getting back to gigs and upskilling. And if you're ahead in some way, continue to make that. Could you pay off your mortgage? Could you ain't going to be able to dodge taxes, but could you have freedom with a mortgage payment? If I didn't hear this, if I didn't have a mortgage payment, Home Depot, can I help you? oh, oh, you want that plummet? You want that pipe? Or you want 3/4 inch or 1/2 inch? Sometimes all you gotta do, if you either gotta know if you're using brass or you're sweating pipes, what you doing? Don't get that shark bite. The shark bite, I've been practicing it. The shark bite, they kind of work. People more so do like the compression fit now. Literally, the difference in me and here's the weird thing. With who I am and what I bring to the table, I feel like I have more of a shot to be moved up at Home Depot than I do as a software engineer. And I can't speak for all software engineers. We could have so much talks about how bloated that word, phrase, term, title, role, position, it could mean something different anywhere. And I could defend what that is. But my mortgage payment is likely that's helping my mind, actually hurting my mind, but helping it as in it's feeding into the need and the concept for the matrix, concept for the hold that companies have on you, because you feel the need to do it. You have to do this. See, like when we get into, and Ruben mentioned it the other day, I think, about money not growing on trees. And it's like, well, you could grow a garden, you throw seeds out there, you could even eat stuff that's out there that you didn't put out there. And if you really change and you scaled, and everybody doesn't have this opportunity today, but if you knew that, would you change? Right? Like Shadow Black, you said real talk. Would you change if you knew that? Right? We all, take some sort of vitamins, medications. If you understood where these ingredients are being extracted from, would you just eat the thing that's gonna help repair you? Right? And what is taking us so long? What's taking you so long to do that investigation? That is the matrix. That's the matrix. It's the fact that we are not on equal footing, and we need someone to answer something that wasn't even a question. Like, we're not the ones asking the question. They're asking it and answering it. It's the leverage. It's the leverage. So wherever you are, you've got to invest into yourself. And because we don't know where this leads. We don't know if there's going to be a AI bubble. I'm seeing ads about I'm seeing not ads but publications saying that it's costing companies more money to support AI than to support humans. But at the same time, we're laying humans off to bring in AI, which costs more than what humans did. So to me, that bet is simple. You're thinking that the cost is only going to be here up front, and once that upfront cost is gone, then it will be inexpensive. But that's literally a gamble. That type of leverage is the Matrix. It's not some crazy movie. It's not anything in this on this content platform. It's nothing to do with that. It's us, our shared mindset and state of mind on, you take a group of 5 friends, and all of them either work or are looking for work. When you get the person who's like the oddball out, they don't work and they're not looking for work the way that you think work. It's like, what? How how they do that? So I think everybody has a unique story, but we can't ignore that, and we have to use our story to get closer to where we need to be. I think that in the future, families are going to, like, kids are going to stay in the home longer. I think that the world is just, I mean, if you really think about it from a legacy perspective, if this whole American dream concept, and I don't know if getting a house for me is a part of the American dream, or it's the best thing that I feel I can do to house myself, because then I don't have to deal with long term dealing with renting and communicating with a landlord, dealing with those things that could change in a building. Like when my mom moved into a building on Gun Hill Road in the Bronx, the building wasn't that bad. Then the neighborhood just changed. Policing changed in the area. Now people are riding ATVs and dirt bikes in the street all summer. The city changed all the roads on Gun Hill, so it's pretty much you're just getting tickets all day. So it changed on her, right? And she don't really have, she's in a building. She's around thousands of people. None of them have say-so over what has been decided. Well, that's the line that is being crossed with your property, your house. And we see that is something that is upheld when you see a commercial business that wants to move into an area, and that one person is holding out, and eventually they just kind of like build around that person. But they can't knock your house down, They can't necessarily take your product. They'll try to figure out ways, especially if you have some sort of a shared ownership. They'll figure out ways to take your property. But this is being upheld. So for me, it's not an American dream. It's just like the best scenario that you can put yourself in to house yourself, buying land and, buying or building a home. And now that you have the home, what you're leaving or trying to leave is legacy. So being not selfish is realizing that the world is changing and we're going to have to build this legacy together as a unit, because the world is changing and the direction it's going in. You have to get used to sprints of 2 to 5 years that are just off. Hear me when I say it. We know what we all went through. We all had stories, and it's hard to say it out loud because all of us went through it. It took 3 years. Maybe you live in a certain region. It may take 2 years of something else, and then another 3 years. And that ebbs and flows. It's just a reality now. So we have to build a legacy together. So part of building a legacy, if I think that the best decision, like for me and my family, is to own our house outright, then I'm going to try for all of us to buy into that plan. Right? And that's kind of what's in that's what I'm thinking about. And that's going to help me to buy myself out of the matrix. Because I just told you, if we didn't have a mortgage, I mean, what's really hanging over your head? You don't got a Netflix and chill. You ain't got a Disney. You ain't got a Hulu. What? You ain't got a Paramount. There's a lot of ain't got tos. There's a lot of you ain't got tos. Yeah, and I'm glad you agree, Make the Pick. We gotta figure out one of those. If you don't have a mortgage, it's smooth sailing, man. You ain't lying. You ain't lying. But see, that's the thing. Growing wealth usually doesn't take just one generation. That's a multi-generational thing. And when I say wealth, I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about access to resources and opportunity as well. So if you haven't gotten started, if the generation prior to you, then it's definitely a challenge. And it doesn't mean that you're going to keep going. Hey, if I change up my situation and everything I'm saying is just off and I don't see the writing on the wall, that's why paying off the mortgage allows me to be wrong for a couple years. And we should be taking that risk because it's not too late. You should be taking that risk because we all know when something doesn't feel right. We all know that. We all put in positions just don't make any sense. All right, I'll give you one more story. And then I'm out of here about something that doesn't make sense. This is an extreme. There's this company when I was in college that they pay you for the day. Make the Pick. You went to school upstate, so you probably have heard of one of these companies, and they just pay you for the day that you work. You work 8 hours, a lot of factory, a lot of overnight jobs. They overtax you, but you need money. It's like a labor. I don't know. It's labor ready. Why does that name sound familiar? Maybe it's labor ready. And they pay you for the day, right? So I needed some cash. Last week, I think I told a story about the recycling cans. Oddly, I didn't end up making as much. So I worked for this company, and the whole thing was when you sign up, they say we'll never put you in position that can hurt yourself. You're always going to have the appropriate equipment, or you're going to have the appropriate training in order to work machinery. So that's clearly not true. They put me at a plastic hanger factory, and it was on the border of like Montreal. I didn't drive. I was a scrub. So my boy Jonathan, first one was a farm. Second one was in a garbage room in school. Wow. Third one was a janitor. Oh, you did some cool jobs, man. Yeah, it felt good to be out. You know what, Make the Pick? No matter what you do from here, I said it today. I said this to Brad. Just in a text message. I went to a bagel shop today. And again, it's nailing the point down. The bagel shop is in Fishkill. It's a nice place. I haven't been there in years. And it just makes you feel like you're moving. ESPN is on. Tables. You can go get some local chocolate milk. Anything you want to eat in there. Coffee wasn't that great today. But other than that, but there's nothing stopping me from saying, okay, I put the kids in school on Tuesday. I'm gonna go sit down at the bagel shop. I'm gonna do a half day there. I'm going to, and plan that. But it's it's being weak and not strong enough, or not being able to see what's going on. Yeah, even if the coffee is bad, yeah. So I was outside, and it really felt good. It really felt good. But I think, and that's why it's important to have friends who still aspire to do things. Because I think one thing we do wrong about work is work goes against how we were when we were growing up, and we were able to share and provide balance. Like, you don't really tell most of your friends the work situations. You might have a unique friend that you get to tell work stuff with, but for the most part, we just eat it. Maybe tell a spouse, but that gets old. You're just back and forth. But so I don't think you get to be not held accountable, but just share in a way where it's like you hear other people's stories, so that you're not alone. And we also know we're not where we want to be. But nothing's stopping me from going to the bagel shop, right? But back to the story. So, hanger factory, the machine, super intimidating. The only thing they gave me was glasses and a glove. I don't even think I had a pair. They gave me a glove. So the machine basically prints out. It doesn't print. It stamps out hangers, right? So a hanger gets stamped out, and when it comes out, it has all of these. And if you've ever done any 3D printing or been around that, there's like rough edges, little pieces of plastic. So they handed me a blowtorch. So for the whole night, my job is to burn plastic off of hangers. No mask, one glove, and glasses. And I was just burning hangers, just fumes, just with a torch. It was a self, it clicked, so you didn't have to do much, but with a torch. And I got to learn how to use the machine to get the hangers to move, stamp the next ones. Could have broke my arm up. Could have got swallowed by that machine. Um, but yeah, this company, they let me do that. So it was insane, and it was a massive place. Like, I could have gotten hurt, and I don't think anybody would have known that I was like hurt for some time. So we finished. It was an overnight shift. We were reckless. We would just do stuff. And we go to get our checks. So we go to the office. This is the labor ready place. And we go get our checks. And I take the check, go straight to the bank, trying to get this money. I never forget my friend Jonathan. He was in front of me. He gets his money. It probably was like $40 or $50, right? He takes his money out. Give them a check. They give him cash. Don't you know my account was overdrawn? So after giving the check, the lady asked me, she said, if you want to take out a couple dollars, basically the check covered my overdraft fee. And there was no money. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. That was hard. That was hard. But it's a hustle spirit, The spirit's there. You're going to get burned every now and then. So I think the hustle spirit helps with the matrix. And we just got to start. We got to start doing stuff. We got to figure it out. But that's tonight's show, guys. Thanks for hanging on. It absolutely be like that sometimes. Yeah, we made it through. I made it past May 5th. So I'm not going to be on here any longer. Thanks so much, guys. This was cool. Up next we have so I posted some content today. I don't know if you guys saw, but thank you so much, Mick the Pick. I was in Home Depot, and I walked past a guy, and he's wearing the same hat as me. And it's not a hat, like, you can't buy the hat. It's a hat you get from, like, the minor league baseball team. And the weird part was when we walked past each other, I wear a bunch of different hats, but I knew when I saw it, I had on this hat. I knew he was wearing the hat I had on. I didn't know if he would know that I had on the hat that he had on. And so we walked past each other and then turn around. I like your hat. And then I went over to him, and in confidence, I got to get my script together. I was like, he's an older guy, so I go, do you use YouTube by any chance? And I was trying to like film some vlog like stuff today. Definitely had some energy issues that I probably have enough to post, but I got to make something of it. And he was like, yeah, I use YouTube. I was like, wow, I post stuff on YouTube. Would you mind doing this? I said, would you mind just taking a video? I wouldn't post it if you wouldn't want me to. And he was like, no, post it. So I have a short up there. It actually did really good numbers of me and him saying, I like your hat. His name was Tom. Hope to see him again. Seemed like I didn't tell him my channel or anything, so I suck at that. But yeah, we'll be posting some content. I feel like I've been backlogging a bunch of videos that I need to get out. So that'll be a part of what the break is, to just take that energy back. But Shadow Black is up next. The fade to the, I keep messing it up. I think he said fade to black. Yeah, fade to black. The fade to black is next. So, all right, guys. Well, I'll catch you on the next one. I will see you. Let me just play one video. We'll be out of here. Don't be a sucker for love. Peace.
Today, we train for the 2030 Winter Olympics. Let's do it.
But here by the fire we defy frost and storm. Ha-ha, we are warm and we have our heart's desire. For here's for good fellows and the beechwood and the bellows, and the cup is at the lip in the pleasant fellowship. Oh, here by the fire we defy frost and storm. Ha-ha, we are warm and we have our heart's